All right, audience. Well, welcome to another edition of The Growth Game. I'm Paul DeLuca, CEO of Meritus Capital, your payroll funding experts for the staffing industry. We're super pleased today to have Matt Ferman on with us. Matt has grown an exceptional business that he's going to tell us more about, and we've come to know each other a bit over the past couple of years, but we're really looking forward to today. And Matt, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm Matt Ferman, CEO of Corporate Resources, naval officer, graduate of the United States Merchant Marine Academy, and been in the staffing business for 17 years and been doing contract staffing for about half of that. So I've been in the game for quite some time. So appreciate you having me. Father of four kids and
Awesome.
and married 17 years. So
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. How old are your kids, Matt?
I've got 15, 13, 11, and 9. So,
Nice.
yeah.
That's exciting. Keeps your life very busy.
Yeah. You get to work to you go from a high torque desk to a higher torque right back to a lower torque desk,
Yeah, 100%. No, totally understand it. I raised two daughters. They're now in their 20s. They're both married, and I've got two granddaughters now, but it's what keeps me going. Yeah, no, I love it.
You've got the face of like a 26-year-old dude.
I love it. We're gonna put that out on the LinkedIn tidbit. DeLuca does not look his age.
He does not age. Yeah.
Very good. Well, thanks so much, Matt, for coming in. I appreciate it. Core Group Resources. You've done some amazing work there, and you've got an incredibly interesting background. But how'd you get into staffing? Super interested. How did you come out of the training you had and focus on a staffing business?
So I, going to college, playing football at a maritime school, and then going into the Navy, and then, like most of our high schools, they did a horrific job of coaching us up into career counseling, right?
Right.
You just go to college and figure it out. And so I don't know. You just kind of go to a school that was congressionally funded. You're trying to diversify, and then you kind of ended up at the Port of Miami doing terminal operations, like bored out of my mind. And you start trying out for reality TV shows, and I don't know if you know this, but I was the first contestant ever on America's Got Talent. Doing beatbox.
Oh, I did not know that. That is an amazing tip. I want to know what was your talent. What did you try?
Yeah. I was beatboxing.
Yeah. I love it. That's great. Oh man, are you going to finish us out with a little beatbox?
I'll lace some beats right at the end to put some fire on it. So,
that is amazing. Yeah. What an interesting story.
But I was unguided missile, and then I did a strength finders test, and they're like, you need to be in HR or sales, and a recruiter job popped up, and I'm like, that's a little bit of HR and a little bit of sales.
Right.
And so I tried it out and just kind of fell in love with the matchmaking process. And a small startup firm in Fort Lauderdale called Fast Stream out of the UK, and was there for 4 years learning the art of direct hire, and then moved to another British company in Houston called Swift, which is a large manpower staffing company. So I got to kind of see what a $500 million company looked like at scale, and just kind of fell in love with, the business. And then, once you're in it 10 years, you get typecast and seal off, and you just have to keep going,
Yeah,
So,
that's what it seems like. That's pretty, many of my clients that come to us and say, hey, it's time to finally be an entrepreneur and go out and do it myself. It's amazing how many, if I kind of pattern match my optimum client, so many of them have had the entrepreneurial, small office experience and also the large corporate experience. And it's somehow like tasting both of those worlds has many times creates a desire to say, listen, I can try to do this myself. So very interesting how you saw that. But what was the defining moment when you're working for a large corporation where you said, I can make the step to becoming an entrepreneur? Was there one defining or maybe a series of defining things that urged you to go take the risk and do it yourself?
So the social engineering involved in recruitment takes a lot of mental capital, as you know. And so, being missional and I think we talked about this before where, as a kid, both my parents lost their jobs. And so I have this like deep rooted passion for, helping people find work that just never, you never turn off the switch.
Right.
I think if you're wired for it, you're energized by it, you can see kind of the matrix in it, and it's kind of who you are, then that's what happened to me is I got really deep into networks and got good at the matchmaking process and decided that like, you know what, like the ability to print cash in this business is what I want to do. For me, it was a little bit different. I went from a small company and I went to a very large venture capital backed company that didn't really know a whole lot about kind of the direct hire way of business. And so there was kind of an underappreciation for the art form it takes to be successful at this business. And then they went to kind of start to sell the business, and I didn't see myself as a part of that transaction. And so I decided that, if I was going to do it, let's just do it at the worst time in life,
What year did you start the business?
It was 2012, but I was, 30, grossly under-equipped to start a business. I had just had my third kid, newborn.
Yeah.
Started it out of my house. Oh, and I left at the end of the month, so my benefits, ended with no website or planning. So, yeah, I did everything like, the worst way you could possibly do it. But once you kind of jump over there, it's, I used to tell people, man, I could print money if I was in a field in Montana. So, but then I jumped and did it, and it's like that first morning is, you kind of get up at 5 a.m. and crush the phones, and it was a lot to start, but it was a series of events. It's a passion. It's not something I'm just trying to get in to make quick money. If you're going to be successful in the staffing business, you have to be like passionate about the mission of it,
Right.
If you're
right.
you can pop in and out, but long-term players have to be missional minded in it, I think. So
I absolutely agree with that. I put out a post this week that was actually very important to me, and I said something around the lines of, just making more money is boring. The reality is, if you don't have a purpose, you're not going to keep going and doing what you're doing. You have to have a purpose. Seems like that drives you.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you had to take a time, get to a place where you put away the fear of failure, right? Like every successful entrepreneur I know can face failure, or let's just call it a learning experience, dead on, and can keep going and keep learning and be resilient. Is there anything that you've done to hone that skill of being able to take the dive and compartmentalize any kind of fear of failure or not making it to your levels of ambition?
So anytime you go to start or hang your own hat, as you call it, right, there's you step out on the edge of faith, right? And so you have two choices, right? Fear enters, which is like, I'm not good enough, and self-doubt. Or God enters and said, hey, I'm stepping out and creating this vacuum, and I'm just trusting that all hard work leads to profit and money's going to show up. Well, 12 years ago, we're actually 13 now starting this business. And still to this day, I'm still shocked that when you step out in faith, money shows up, right? You just have to step out. And the fear component of the mind, every once in a while it'll seep in, right? Like, where's this going? And then boom, you just the numbers will owe you. And so you just step out and you increase production, you increase output, and the numbers will owe you back. And so I think any business owner, doesn't matter if it's staffing, is living on the edge of the float, right? And they're living on this edge of faith, like doing good works in a marketplace, hoping that money shows up. And so, yeah, the fear of failure is honestly what I think keeps most of us alive and thriving and kind of excited to live on that edge, right? And I think we living in this world of, really the concept of retirement and 401k and let me stack a bunch of money and get comfortable and just kind of wait to die is not really truly living, right? Let's live on the edge. And so that edge is hunting. And so I have a tree in front of my office here, and I watch like hawks hunt prairie mice. And I'm like, well, does the hawk have a 401k? No. Does he know the mice are showing up the next day? No. But somehow, some way, God puts mice in the field and the hawk hunts and they're fed and they're really not worried about too much. You know what I mean? So it's a
Yeah.
reminder that I'm like, what do I have to worry about? You know?
Very, very well said. Very well said. That brings up some very interesting, wise comments I've heard over the years about, the lazy will fail, and those that stay with it, and like you said, and have some faith in what this whole world has to offer, but get out there, get at it, and work through it, right, and push through it. That's really what allows us to have the potential fear of failure, but the reality is you have to be looking behind you and realize that the opposite is you're not making any success in your life and you're not feeding your family. But that idea of being able to achieve something greater and drive through it, that's what seems to be a very common denominator in most successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Growth is never linear. You've been at it now. You said this is your 13th year. Is there anything that you've done, or maybe a few things you've done where you said, listen, this is it. This is going to be the secret to my growth. And you got into it and you realized, pivot, this isn't working. I need to do an about face.
I think we've gone after different markets. We've gone after transportation. We've gone after warehousing. You try out new markets. That's the thing about the recruitment business is it's this kind of celestial chariot that rotates, and you can move into different marketplaces. We've gone into lower margin staffing markets and it was kind of painful. You end up doing a lot of work for free and that was a bad idea. We've shut down certain business lines. There's a book called Quit, and it's all about this poker player's psychology. She won the world of poker, but when you pour money into something and then you get attached to that money and you don't stop when you should quit and you keep going is when you get in trouble,
Yeah, so true.
So we've gone down tunnels that I thought made sense, and you just got to know when to cut the tap off and quit. So I don't want to call out any specific markets with a large staffing audience because they might be in it,
Yeah.
But you just need to know when to quit, right? If the margin's not there, pivot to higher margin business. Don't continue to suffer. So.
Yeah, I like that. I appreciate that you're highlighting. You have to have the ability to cut something off and make a decision that at least for you, that isn't for your company, your management team, that's not the right thing to continue to pour money into and invest in it. And I've made that mistake myself. I mean, definitely, I've had businesses or potentially challenged businesses that I kept pouring money into, and there's times you have to just shut it down and refocus and on the things that really work. So for you, specialization has really been important, right? Like for Core Group, it seems like you've really been killing it on sales these last couple of years. What are some of the things that you focused on that you're finding really good success with?
So we got into traction. Are you familiar with that? EOS?
I'm not.
Okay. So there's a book called Traction, which is there was a father-son component that were working together, and the son was working with the father and the dad was a founder. And anyways, the son developed this thing called the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is, it helps you stay focused in your lane. And so about 6 years ago, I read that book, and I suffer like many from seeing opportunity in everything, and you can chase 1,000 shiny objects. Well, the concept of the book is if you take a laser beam and focus it, you can cut through diamonds, right? But the sun has the same energy, and if you walk outside, you get a slight sunburn. So the idea is you focus on whatever market niche you're inside of, and you just crush that niche. And so we were stuck on growth for years until we decided to niche out and then laser focus on a niche. And then we saw growth and expansion, kind of like you with funding staffing companies, right? You found your niche, you sit inside of it, it becomes your laser beam. You're already doing it, and that's where you see your growth, right? If you try to pivot to farmers in Southern California, you wouldn't see the same rapid growth, right? The margin's just not the same. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah. It's so absolutely correct. And I think when you really do have that razor focus, you're able to really, iterate quicker. You're really able to deliver a solution that creates, that is really just unstoppable. Your competitors just can't give the same level of detail to clients if in understanding exactly what you're doing in that specific niche. And I absolutely agree. When you hear the term emotional resilience for an entrepreneur, and like when you think of leading a high growth staffing company, what does that mean to you? Like having emotional resilience, and how important is that to a potential new entrepreneur when they make an analysis of, are they the right fit? Is there a correlation there, that some self-reflection, if you're giving advice to a potential new entrepreneur, that would be helpful?
Yeah. So there's statistics out there that like in 10 years, if 100 businesses are started, only 1% make it, right?
Right.
One out of 100 make it 10
Yeah.
years. And the only, like the differentiator, right? Like the most important thing is being unwilling to die, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
And so when you say emotional resilience, you're like, I'm passionate about this space. I'm hammering
Yeah.
this space with ferocity, and I'm just not going to come off of it. And I know all the odds are against it. But if you're not missional and passionate about what you're doing in that marketplace, then the chances of you just giving up and going somewhere else, right, are high. Like, because the odds are completely stacked against you. And that's with any business. It's not just staffing, right? It's the ability to stay alive in the down markets, the
Yep.
ability to stay alive to conquest the up markets. But it's a cycle game. And so emotional resilience is, we say here, we have a saying, just
Mhm.
keep going, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I
just
love it.
keep going. You don't stop. You crush
Yeah.
every day. Some years you work twice as hard for half the cash.
Yeah.
Some years you work half as hard for twice the cash. What's the
Yeah.
one thing? You're like the hawk in the tree. Like you hunt every day. You get after it. You
Yeah.
put deals together. You look at it, and somehow money shows up. So emotional resilience, I think, is everything. But if you're a pessimist, you have negative self-talk, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe you get trapped in your head. Those are all mind chambers, right? Where you can get taken out into a mind loop and then boom, you're gone, right? And you're like, I'm going somewhere else. Part of the reason we're still growing, right, is we were unwilling to die for like 7 years, and then COVID hit. Then we were really unwilling to die, right? And then the market took off, and we're like the last guys left answering the phones, right? Calls are coming
Right.
in. We just conquested because we're last man standing. We're the only like bandwagon left together with the wheels on it. And so we started
Yeah.
throwing bodies into the bandwagon, and conquested and kept going. So just keep going is a mantra that we have here. It could be horrific, you know, pinned against the wall. There's always a way out.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I love that. Just keep going, stay at it, push through, and that, honestly, that's been the I would say the number one reason I've succeeded in this business is exactly that. There's been a lot of challenges and twists and turns and ups and downs, but just never relenting. And now, I get to this place in my life where I've got some really nice success and some amazing clients, and I'm still just keep going. I'm still showing up every single day. People ask me, why are you still showing up every single day? Like, you probably don't need to have this kind of same relentless desire to grow, but I absolutely love passing it down. We've more than doubled our team, and we're training every single day because I love continuing to pass this down and help people grow. I'm pretty passionate about it, and I love seeing people change their lives with what entrepreneurial attitude can do for their family and for themselves. So that's exciting.
Cool.
What scares you about growth?
I mean, we've been hyper growth, 100% growth year on year on year. Last year, we came down to 75% growth. This year, we may trace off to about 50%, right? When you grow
But
that,
those aren't some big numbers, though.
yeah,
Those are some big numbers.
when you
Yeah.
grow that fast, it's the cash game is king, right?
Right.
It's when you're like this. I mean, I had one of the most stressful times in our company last year, where we were with a small community bank, and I get some rogue email saying the bank I guess the bank got into crypto, and that's actually when I met you. Started. The bank was actually running out of money, right? You're fighting all these battles, trying to find new business, candidates, whatever, right? Services, sales, and then you're like the one thing that you're leaning on, is your bank to do the job of have cash in the bank, right? That's when you grow, when you're hyper growth, cash is king, right? That's why we've done factoring for a while. It allows you to not have to think about cash and to continue to say yes to new business versus having to get shrink wrapped in your 400K line of credit, living in this,
Right.
This world of insanity and shrink wrap packaging, right? So
Yeah.
I'm a believer in factoring in the lines of growth because it decouples the thought of cash off the entity owner to go out and do what they do best and grow, and they don't have to think about, capital coming through the door, right?
I appreciate that, and of course, and I didn't even give you the plug. I didn't even give you the side comment to plug what we do, but I appreciate that. Maybe you could kind of give our audience a little bit of, because you've lived it, the stresses of being with a regulated bank financing your staffing company, as opposed to turning towards a privately held balance sheet payroll funder / factor that is able to scale your business with more confidence. If you really look at the two differentiators, maybe you could kind of talk about what that experience has been like, regulated bank versus privately held balance sheet.
Yeah. So the regulated banks have these, post 2008, have all these cash covenant requirements that, it seems like everything I'm hearing is like 8 million's the number, right? And if you're not like at JP Morgan's $30 million like golden child threshold, all these small companies are treated like essentially like redheaded stepchildren. And then you've got, I think the other issue with banks is you have these underwriters that they're basically incentivized to not lose money. Like you have the underwriter that's like, I've never lost a dime, and he's rained terror on 10,000 small business owners, not give them a dime because they need it, right? And so you'll go to a traditional bank and they'll go up, they're like, oh, well, looks like your business is growing too fast. You need to slow it down. You need to go from 70% growth down to 10, and you need to wait for your cash to hit a debt ratio. And it's just like, I don't know. It's un-American. It's not the way it was originally designed. And I think post 2008, they just haven't made it easy on small businesses to get cash, right? So you're starting up like, hey, I need $2K, right? Well, show us your last 3 years of P&Ls and balance sheet. Well, I'm getting started. Well, wait till 3 years pass. Well, I need the money now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go into your kid's college fund first, and then come and talk to us. So, it's and then when you get in the private sector, there's just much more flexibility on growth, and you're not capped at the 8 million, and it's a much better place. It's a much healthier place to play. Obviously, banks are regulated, so they preach safety, but in the process of preaching safety, they shrink wrap everyone inside of this growth process. So, if you're looking to grow your business at 10 or 20% a year, like traditional banks, no problems. You give your line of credit, you try not to grow that fast. Maybe you have a lifestyle business. If you want to like torque up to like 50 to 100% growth, traditional banks are like, what's that? That's weird. Yeah. Why are you reinvesting all your cash back into the business? Could you slow it? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love it. I hear those stories all the time, but it's great to hear it. And I really appreciate you helping our audience understand that. And, obviously it's very self-serving, but the reality is that's why we exist. we, as you know, Matt, we finance high growth startups. Like I still spend time talking to the one mom and pop shop that shows up that used to work for Manpower and says, "Hey, I'm ready." And I have no problem. My salespeople will set up an appointment and I'll talk to them and give them some encouragement. But all the way up to our largest client is doing almost 40 million a month in payroll. And, they have literally financed with us from day one. Right. And now we're helping them do acquisitions. In fact, we've had multiple clients in the last 60 days that we're helping them acquire some other companies. So, we love it. And for us, it's just completely, it's not that we're not analyzing the ability of our clients to grow, but we don't put the shackles on them. And so I appreciate that you were able to highlight that. That's a big thing that we believe in. We love growth. 2023 for you described it as a monster year. How much of your monster year would you attribute to the alignment of your vision, your values, and your people?
So obviously vision, you're coming out of 2022, right? And they're like, oh, we're going into a VUCA market, right? Everyone's scared, the recession's coming, and you don't see this labor bridge. So you see there's still labor tension. You're like, I don't see a downturn coming. Let's throttle down and go, right? And so I think like a CEO, you have to be careful on the vision piece to start. Where are you getting your news from? Are you listening to Debbie Downer, Debbie on the market, and then you're like, I'm scared, and just because I listen to this one person, you see a lot. You should be at like 40 news channels or 50, sucking in your own thought process on where the market's headed. So vision to me is a constant intake of what's happening in the marketplace. It's, stock market, bonds, labor market data, like all that stuff we're monitoring and saying, where's this thing headed? And everything's stating, well, everyone wants to become an Instagram influencer, so no one's showing up to facilities to do work. So that's creating a demand on the staffing market, right? So we're going to stay down this lane. Core values, like we're really big on core values. We actually just changed our acronym. It's called growth. You'll appreciate this, right? So,
I love that.
Yeah. So it's God-centered, right? Resilient, which is what we're talking about. Optimistic, work ethic, teamwork, and honesty, right? So we hire by those and we fire by those. In fact, when they come in to interview, and if you don't fit our core values, because we're like a laser beam, right? It's like we're trying to put you into this machine that's moving at Mach 10. And so if you have any issues with the core values, you're just going to create cavitation and start shaking because, it's just going to be a waste of time for you and I. So we're really pretty rigid on the core values at the gate. And then that aligns with our mission, right? Connecting people to destiny and really making an impact in the job market to improve lives through career transition, really expand, right? We're not placing people into companies where if it's a bad company, we'll fire them, right? If they're treating people poorly, we're out. So it's just kind of doing the good works over time and sowing good seeds is really what helps. But man, they say culture eats strategy for lunch. You could have all the strategy in the world. You hire a bunch of, people that don't match your core values, man. Like it's like a soup. It's like setting a TNT bomb to blow up. You know what I mean? Like they just don't last. They just don't last. So
I love that. The saying it's been said in multiple different ways, but essentially the hire slow, fire fast mentality. Does that work in connection with finding the right people, being able to take your time to hope that they have alignment, and then if they don't, be able to make changes quickly? Or is there a different methodology that you take to make sure that you have, especially a management team that's really aligned with your core values?
I mean, everybody coming in, we have our core values listed on the wall. I mean, it's like they'll be in the interview and we're like, what do you think about those? And we'll go through each one by one. What do you think? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? So we have that. We got our core values and our mission in our employee handbook. So they sign it, so they're coming on, they're coming into our realm. Now they're signing off on it. So we're all in agreement that this is, what you have to be. And I do believe core values in particular are so valuable right now. And I believe that because there's social media, I think Facebook just opened up their algorithms, and it's called compartmentalized bias, right? So you have people of the right core values, that's kind of like the fuselage of your plane, right? They're inside.
Right.
They're not, and they're kind of getting portaled out into this social media bias. It starts to trade against the speed of the organization, right? And so you really need to have
well said,
people that are aligned in the fuselage of the plane so you can travel Mach 10 versus popping their head out and creating drag, on the system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that. So let's talk disruption for a minute. Is there anything specifically you've done that you would say, listen, you're really disrupting either your geographic market or your specific niche that you serve? Are there some things that you find that has really, made people stop and think and went, wow, that's actually a really different approach?
I'm kind of a mad scientist in the kitchen with our tech stack and things like that. So there is there's some, how Coca-Cola doesn't share its formula with anybody, people have ever seen it, so there are some disruptive things that we are doing. Played linebacker, right? And I was a clown. So I'm a natural disruptor in general. So when you connect that, but I would say, to share with your wider audience to help, recruitment companies really need to look at their automation suite and how they're moving information through their system more efficiently. I do believe that that's kind of a requirement in the 21st century is system automations. As a CEO, business owner, should I be working on the business and disappearing? No, you should be cloud minded and seeing, how can I better automate my assembly line, right?
I love that. I completely agree with that. And I think the other thing too, when you talk about, applying technology to the staffing business where you still don't lose the human element, but you apply some technology, which frankly, if you don't, I don't think you succeed in this business long term. But I don't think it's a one size fits all approach either. There's some great applications, there's some great software, and tech stacks out there. But I like what you said that you have to constantly mold those things to really function and work within your ecosystem, right? And it takes time, and frankly, it takes time from the top down. I have found that in my business, this isn't just something I can give a CTO or a CIO. Like implementation of technology is actually probably one of my biggest strategic initiatives that I'm personally involved with. I show up to the to the Scrum meetings, because like it's super, super important to me to see how this affects my business top down. So nice to see that you're putting some effort into that. Where do you want to go? What's your ambition? Like where do you want to take your business? Maybe tell us a couple of things you're going to do to achieve it.
I'm kind of like you. I like to pass it down. We are in the process of, being 17 years in this business. And if I was talking to myself, like practice launching, like helping other full desk or recruiters that are looking for a place to either launch a practice or bring a practice on and us incubate that entity right inside of our ecosystem. I see a market where we can continue to grow, but also be a place of data and technology and tech stack that other, I call them headhunters or matchmakers or navigators can come and actually enjoy work. And so I don't know what it looks like yet, but I see this world where we're helping people that took us 17, or 13 years to figure it out. I can accelerate down to 12 months or 18.
Yeah. Super exciting. I love that concept.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's part of the plan. The other part is just, I'm too far down the tunnel now. I'm like fully typecasted as like this Houston jobs guy. So you just keep going, And so how do you expand, how do you expand into that? I don't think it stops in the short term. I think we've got some continuous growth and launching to do. And so what we've seen happen in our business is we've started a consulting practice as a subsidiary. So we're doing marine engineering consulting. We've started a litigation support entity, does like expert witness stuff. We've started an entity in Trinidad that does like topside production platform inspections. We do maritime licensing, right? So this kind of like this incubation of ideation and services, I see myself doing that for quite some time.
I like that. Very interesting. You're going deep in your niche and being able to provide more than just the staff, but really something that is full, that it really gives more to the entire ecosystem, it sounds like. Yeah, I love it. That's very exciting. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges or threats to the staffing industry going into the next few years?
I think for the lower end shift work, obviously marketplaces are one. There is a little bit of a divide, I think, from what I can see with staffing business owners, is that if you're not like technology or cloud minded, if you're kind of more of an old school, this is how we've done it for years, there's a little bit of a slippage that's happening because of the cloud revolution, and all these cloud czars that have come to power. So I would say as a current, if you're been in business for 20 years and this is just the way we do it and your neuroplasticity won't allow you to change, and you're not willing to change and everyone's screaming at you to change, and you've got some major problems coming, right? Because everything is changing. I would say just, stay on the edge of technology. I really can't preach that enough. I think if you're not looking at new technology all the time, like you're missing out on some lower hanging fruit stuff, right? So
I love it.
Keep looking at it. Be at a posture of knowing nothing,
Yeah.
The moment.
Well said.
I always think like the BlackBerry story, right? Where, someone on the executive floor, the iPhone came out and they're like, no one will ever leave these little tiny keyboards, Someone made that decision. BlackBerry lost like billions of dollars. Or it's when the president or Steve Jobs went into Kodak when he started the iPhone. He's like, hey, I'm building the iPhone and I don't want to make a camera. Let's just use the Kodak cameras. And the CEO of Kodak tapped Steve Jobs on the back and said, hey, we're really not interested. We're Kodak. 40,000 jobs later, one decision, just right? No vision, right?
No vision. Yep.
So
amazing. Yeah.
You just got to be at a posture knowing nothing, right?
Yeah. I like that. And I think it's super important as we see these big, industry changing potential events that come up, and, that one of them can completely transform this industry. Now, some of the big things that have come out have not yet done that, right? I mean, how many of us in this industry, when Monster came out, were like, oh man, everybody's going to find all their jobs online. Like, look where that went, right? Like, so, but yet that doesn't mean that you can be anti forward thinking and anti-tech. So, there are transformations coming. The ones that the people that succeed in this business are going to find the place that they fit into the best technology that increases production, in my opinion, but continues to retain the human element, because we're still matchmakers. When it really all comes down to it, the staffing business is about matchmaking, and pure technology does not do a great job at matchmaking long term. That's the way I see it. And people want to continue to have relationships. So I look forward to it. I'm very bullish on our industry. I think that there's great things ahead. I love to see the continued movement towards the staffing industry and the payrolling industry just being a solution for up and down economies. That's why I always tell my budding entrepreneurs, my prospects, because they ask me all the time, is now a good time? And I always say now is the time. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a flat economy, growing economy, or it's a recessionary economy. Do it. Just do it and don't stop, right? And that's tends to work because it's the people that just go out and do that really succeed. So Matt, it's been awesome having you on. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to bring out come in and give us some of your expertise. I love the tidbit that I found out you were one of the first America's Got Talent contestants. That's great. I am going to Google that one. But you know what? Appreciate all your success and all the hard work you put into making people's lives around you better. And I've seen that in your executive team. And I know that that's something that really drives you. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time today.
You got it. Yeah. I said I'd lead with beatboxing, so I might as well.
Let's do it.
One.
You're ready. All right, let's go.
I have a mic, though, so I don't know how it's going to come through, but I'll give you
Yeah.
Let me kind of warm up.
Yeah. Bravo. When you said you could beatbox, I didn't know you really meant you could actually do it. That was awesome. Oh man, my audience is going to go nuts for that one. That's so great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for giving us something to enjoy today. That was awesome. It's been.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the time, and thanks for your missional efforts, and
thank you.
Funding the machine.
That's right. Thanks so much, man. Funding the machine. I'm at it. Keep at it. We really appreciate it. This has been another exciting episode of The Growth Game, and we absolutely appreciate Matt Ferman from the Core Group Resources joining us today. It's been great. Until next time, I'm Paul DeLuca, CEO of Meritus Capital, and continuing to put the content out that really our industry, payroll funding, the staffing business is just not only do we really just enjoy it, but we love really helping entrepreneurs in the U.S. and Canada. And it's great to see people who are growth-minded being able to jump in and join us. So thank you very much. Until next time.
All right. See ya.